Lately, I've seen this happening a lot on the mountain. I've already spoken about resting systems on Via Ferrata before, but because I see this repeating over and over again while I'm meeting people on the mountain, here I am back again speaking to you about resting on a Via Ferrata. For my case, what I'm using is this Y-shaped lanyard, and the reason I'm using it is because it gives me two options at the same time. One of them is when I need to rest on the Via Ferrata to use the shorter length of a lanyard, and then obviously the other one is the longer length of it. I've seen people, multiple times I've seen people having with them a sling like this, and that's okay because resting systems can be expensive, and when you start buying the Via Ferrata system for yourself, it gets fast super expensive. So when it comes to resting, it makes sense to invest even less. You buy the harness, then the Via Ferrata set, the helmet, and eventually, because you keep hearing it, it is a good thing to have with you a resting system. You, from friends advising you to do that, or by yourself, decide to buy a sling like this. What's the issue with this sling? And it is why today I'm here, because I want to talk with you about this case scenario where you end up with a sling like this. First of all, the sling should not be longer than the length of your arm. Why? Because the idea is, once connected to the belay loop of your harness, you don't want to go too far away, because if you go too far away and then you have too much slack, it is very hard to recover. Also, let's suppose you want to clip somewhere here, and this is the distance between the belay loop and the place on the wall where you connect the carabiner, and if it is that long, imagine if this is the slack. When you want to sit and rest, you will practically have to descend on the Via Ferrata set so that it can get under tension. Now, this is one of the limitations. What I've seen happening is people having a sling of a good enough length. Let's suppose this. They usually are longer, it is why I have this one here. I will explain in a moment. But let's suppose you have this. It is short enough, not too long. It is good. This can do it. It is 60 centimeters. Perfect. Now, what you'll do is you'll connect this to the belay loop of your harness. But then, what I've seen people doing, and I made the same mistake, is clipping the carabiner like this. Now, what will happen here is this. So practically, you'll have to do something with it, and you'll clip it here to the loop of your harness, and look what's happening. You see? You have this in your way. Now, when you want to go and clip yourself to rest, it gets stressing. It's not right. Now, this is very short, fairly short, so not that much of an issue with it going like this. It's not in your way too much. But what I've seen people doing, and I will show you in a moment what I'm suggesting to you to do in this case, is having a sling like this. Let's connect it here. So the sling is now connected, but this is huge. Imagine if you clip like this to your harness, and this now goes like this. It is in between your legs. I don't know if you can see it, but it is in between my legs. So what do I do about it? Well, what will you do about it? First of all, it is too long. This one is way too long. To make it shorter, what you'll do is you'll cut it in half, like this. See? This is half of it. Now it is a better length. Good. Now you cross it. So you did the same. But now you have way too much webbing here. And what you'll do is a knot. Create here a knot. And with this knot, you make sure that the whole thing stays, you see, glued together. Now you put your carabiner, and here you have it. You're in a way better situation. Now you can clip it here, and then when you need, you can clip it to your resting point of the wall and rest. So we fixed it. Now it is way better resting system. If you have a sling like this and it is way too long, this is 120 centimeters, then this is what you should do, and this is a good length. It will help you in the majority of the cases. It will serve you well in the majority of the cases. If you have a way longer sling, then you have to add more nuts here, and in that way you are sure that it will do a good job. Now, you being a beginner, make sure that you don't make a human error, because you see, this is a loop, and then if you put it like this, you see, now this is a loop of 2. So you have to pay attention, and this is a loop of 2. You have to pay attention on how you do the whole thing, because if by mistake, so let's suppose you go like this, and let's suppose you did it right here, but then you'll have a tendency to do not like this, and then you see this is the end, and actually put the carabiner here. So now this is the end of a loop. Now look what will happen. Let's suppose this goes under tension. So let's suppose this is under your weight, and you pull. So you pull. You see what happened? You need to pay attention on how you actually create the knot here to keep it together. So the way you do it is, you see you have the 2 sides. For sure you don't leave this out, because if you leave this out, it will slip. You see? If you leave this out, it can slip. Look. You see? Done. Slipped. So now you are exposed, in danger of falling. Of course you have a Via Ferrata set that will hold you, but you get the idea. You want to avoid that. So what you do is, you have it like this. Good. You have it. You cross it like this. So now you know for sure that it will hold here at the belay loop. So now you have these 2 sides, and the carabiner has to go through both of them, like this. So now you've closed the circle. Now you are safe. After you did this, you come here and you make this knot here. And this is how you should do it. Now you are safe. Don't worry about the knot making the lanyard weaker. It is true, this type of knots are making the lanyard weaker. You don't have to worry about it, because you are supposed to use this under static load. What this means is, even if you reduce the efficiency from 22 kilonewton to, let's suppose, 10 kilonewton, it will still hold your weight no matter what. So this is what you should do when you don't have enough money, and for resting you buy a sling or a lanyard like this. Good. Now an even cheaper option is a prusik. A small bit of rope with properly added knots. Now we have a loop, and this is the prusik. From here you do the same as the lanyard. Here we have it. It is connected. and now I'm connecting it to the carabiner. I have it, and I will do the same knot here. Now, to make sure the carabiner will not move too much, I will put the knot as close as possible. And here I have it. Small bit of rope used, I think this is 6 millimeters, something like that. It is enough to hold you. It still does a good job at holding you under static load. Ideally it will be 8 millimeters, but if you don't have of 8, you can buy of 6, and here we have it, or 7. And this is the cheapest option. This will be for sure the cheapest option to build a resting system. Then the slings, a bit more expensive. And then in alternative, you have this ready-made lanyards. This one you connect, same type of connection, clip the carabiner, and here we have it. Good. Let me say it back again. What I have and use for myself is this Y-shaped lanyard. As I was saying, it provides versatility and comfort. Why? Because once connected, give me a moment, once connected, I now have two options. One option is to use the shorter. I sometimes use this one, rarely, but I sometimes use this shorter connection, or otherwise this longer arm of the Y-shaped system. You see, I most of the times use this one because I reach, I clip it, I sit, and here I have it. Otherwise, yes, this is what I use mostly. And then, from time to time, this one. From here comes my recommendation. Make sure the length is from the wrist to the arm here, which is the length of this one. Let's see. This is 60, and if we go, it is almost the same. So your resting lanyard should be of 80. So this one, if it is of 80, will be identical with this one. If it is of 60, it is still good to go. Now, there are some other recommendations, and I will make them just because we are here. So let's take advantage of the opportunity and give you the full spectrum of opportunity when it comes to resting. I've seen people using a quick draw, and it's nothing wrong about doing it. A quick draw connected to the belay loop. It is short, but still you have something to rest on. The problem with this one is when you have the other one, let me take this lanyard here. When you have this one, it gives you a bit of slack. Sorry. And this slack here, in case you lose control on the connection point is somewhere here, will give you freedom to actually do that, to reach. You don't have to push yourself too high up. But when you use the quick draw, it is that small, not that long, and you'll have to sometimes make effort. Plus, if you don't change the carabiner of this, and by the way, the quick draw will be as expensive or maybe more expensive than a sling like this. And yes, the opening of this carabiner here, it's way less than this one. And by the way, this also auto blocks, for example. This is not the right carabiner for Via Ferrata. What I recommend when creating a resting system is these two carabiners. I bought themselves for this Y-shaped lanyard. The lanyard itself comes like this, And what I did was to buy these two carabiners. This is cheaper from seeing rock or climbing technology. They both create similar carabiners. They are Via Ferrata rated because they open like this, and they are good. Or otherwise from Petzl, this one even better. You will find it, and it makes sense to buy it. I was saying, you will see people connecting a quick draw, and that's okay, nothing bad about it. You'll also see people connecting the quick draw to this loop of the Via Ferrata set, and that's okay as well. If you do it like this, in case of a dynamic fall, you have a shock absorber protecting you more. But again, resting is about static load, so the shock absorber should never deploy. The only difference between the belay loop and this loop of the Via Ferrata set is that you put the shock absorber under tension, under pressure. That's okay, it's not that much pressure. Now, what else I've seen people doing is only clipping a carabiner here to this loop of Via Ferrata set. And this is okay as well. It works, it does the job, it gives you enough length, and then you can clip it and connect it, and now you can rest. One issue here, by employing this technique of using this loop with either the quick draw or just a single carabiner, one issue here is, in case the shock absorber deploys, well, now you no longer have a functional resting system, because let's suppose your Via Ferrata set will deploy this 60 centimeters. Well, if it deploys this 60 centimeters, now this is the distance, and that's still okay, so you can still use it for resting. But if it deploys, let's say, a meter, now this is your distance to rest. And once deployed, this is no longer as secure as before. And do you want to sit and wait for help into a deployed shock absorber? I personally don't. I prefer, if this would ever happen, to then just use my resting system, clip into that, and sit and wait for rest. But this is me. To recapitulate, this was about choosing what works better for your situation when it comes to resting on Via Ferrata while climbing. The cheaper solutions are either a piece of rope, a loop, a plastic loop, or otherwise a sling like this. This is the cheapest. Then comes this one. To keep it even cheaper, you can just buy a carabiner and then connect it to the loop of your Via Ferrata set. But if you want to improve your situation and give yourself better aiding in terms of resting, then you can go either with a loop like this made of rope, or otherwise buy a sling. The more expensive is this lanyard here, and then this Y-shaped lanyard. Or alternatively, you can just use a quick draw. I've seen on Via Ferrata people going with a sling like this as their resting system, and that's okay. The only problem with this is being too long, for example, and how you connect it in such a way that it is practical and functional. My suggestion to you is for a sling like this, and usually you'll find this is what you will end up with, 1 meter or 120 centimeters long sling. Ideally you'll put this in half. Then once it is half of it, you connect it to your belay loop, and from here first you clip the carabiner. You make sure you did it right, because otherwise you risk your life. And once you are here, you now create this knot, and in this way you will keep it and will never slide back and forth like this. So now you have it. This is functional, it works, it does the job, and will not be in your way while climbing the Via Ferrata. And here you have it. Don't make the mistake many are committing, that is to go with a sling like this, as long as this one, and then they connect this part, and then they have this part here like this, and then they try to do something like this to make it shorter and to make it stay together. This is wrong here, because this can give up and will weaken for sure more the webbing, and still is not practical, not functional. Don't make this mistake. And of course you see here your carabiner will go all over the place. It's not practical, it's not functional. And also don't leave it like this, because if you do it, you see, this is what will happen. You'll clip this to your loop here, you end up with this on your way, or in your way, when you are going up the mountain, and it's not fun. I can guarantee you that. Moreover, when you really get into trouble, you don't have time to think, and you don't want to be bothered and to deal with this situation.